ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीमेधा दक्षिणामूर्तिस्वामिने नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। Namaste once again to all. So, Adi Shankara is now explaining the prakriya or the process of how we should understand this entire prapancha, this entire cosmos to be a mithya. And he started with the sixth sloka, samsaraha swapnatulyo, tulyaha, right? So he tried to explain that this samsara, this entire prapancha, is like a dream. With that he started. Now he understands that the moment he says this, everybody will pounce upon him. Right? What do you mean? How can you compare samsara to a dream? So he started explaining the process of the superimposition, adhyasa. And step by step he is going. First, then, he said, it is samsara means jaganti. That is all 14 lokas are superimpositions. That is at the samashti level. First he explained the superimposition. Then he came down to the vyashti level. And he said that unless you understand this Brahman as the adhishtanam of this entire world, this samsara or this prapancha will continue to be real for you. Because of this process of this adhyasa, you have actually lent reality to this mithya samsara and made it appear like satyam. So till you understand that there is something which else which is there, which is satyam, you will take this prapancha or this samsara to be satyam. This is what he has been explaining. And from samashti came down to vyashti. Now vyashti level also he is further trying to explain piece by piece. Because at the vyashti level, there is a problem we have seen. And the problem is this anyonya adhyasa which is taking place with basically our body-mind complex and our Atma. We have seen that at the Vyashti level, this misconception or this mix-up is not happening with any other living being or any other object in the entire samsara. We don't take the wall or even a tiger or a dog or a cat to be us, isn't it? We don't say, I am a dog, I am a cat. We don't say that. Though many of us are like that only. But when it comes to this body, mind, sense complex, which is also equally anatma like a dog or cat or whatever it is, or even a wall or a computer, same anatma, there the problem comes that I take myself as the body mind complex and I give my reality to this body mind complex. That is the main problem of our entire life, rather. Nothing else causes us problem, isn't it? Even when we hear that some elephant has been killed, some tiger has been killed, and all that, it doesn't cause, maybe a little bit of compassion will be there, but it doesn't cause a samsara problem for us. It doesn't emotionally disturb us. What disturbs us is, first of all, this ahankara, which we are actually now, attributing to this body mind complex. And because of that ahankara comes the mamakara, which is a consequence. This aham mama business is what is creating all our problems in our life. So that problem he is now trying to explain to us, why, in what way you must understand all these things so that you are out of the samsara. You understand to differentiate, cognitively separate anatma from this anatma atma mix up, and treat anatma separately and treat the atma separately, for which understanding of the atma, understanding of the self is very much necessary. So this is all briefly what we have been seeing till now, and the process continues. He has not ended there, because he has to deal with, when he says body mind complex, he has to deal with each individual component, sthula shariram, sukshma shariram, and also karana shariram. He has to deal with that, right? So next sloka, that is the 11th sloka, he is actually going to one more aspect of this identification with this body mind complex. We will see what it is. We will first read the sloka, chant the sloka, and then we will understand what he wants to say. Okay, I will chant and you can repeat. Okay. नानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्थो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत्. So now he is going into further details of this adhyasa. In the previous sloka, he made a general statement that the attributes or the properties of the body are taken unto me, and that, that adhyasa is happening, because of which we take this body mind complex as real. Now he is now going to further elaborate that particular aspect. And what are those? He starts with jati varna ashrama adaya etc. Right? So first is jati with jati. So jati abhimanam comes because we are giving to the reality to this body mind complex. Mind you, that jati also is mithya only, and this body mind complex also is mithya, but we are giving it reality because of this adhyasa. I am a Brahmin, I am a Kshatriya, all these kind of, abhimana in the jati, in the birth. This is the first problem which starts with this adhyasa problem starts from here in terms of our body mind complex, right? Many people have got such abhimanam with their qualifications. You know who I am. I'm a PhD. I'm a double PhD. This abhimanam is there. Well, many people have got some abhimanam without qualification also. That's a different matter, right? And that is the problem. That's a tragedy in life, right? Even without knowing Gayatri mantra, even without doing Sandhya Vandanam, at least occasionally, people say, I am a Brahmin, isn't it? Many of us claim we are Brahmins, but we know nothing about Brahminhood. We are just by name self-styled. Like, those days they used to have a self-styled, what is that? Uh, Commando force. This Khalistan commando force. Self-styled. They will call themselves commandos. So similarly, we all call ourselves Brahmins, Kshatriyas and all. A Kshatriya today will not be doing anything which a Kshatriya is supposed to do. If there is a problem in the neighborhood, he will close his door and make sure that the problem doesn't come to his house. That is the today's Kshatriya we have got, right? Whereas a Kshatriya is supposed to go and help people selflessly. So all this jati abhimanam is the first problem which comes while we identify ourselves with this body mind complex, rather, right? Then varna abhimanam. Varna also again means brahmana hai, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. So since jati already is spoken about as you know uh, 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 Brahmin and all that, some acharyas say that jati varna, when both are mentioned, we must make a difference in their meaning. So they take jati as kula abhimana, not as varna abhimana. I am belonging to so and so family, a very prominent family for 3 generations. My grandfather was a courtier in so and so Maharaja's court. All these things, kula abhimanam. I belong to that kind of a family. So when we take jati, we can either take, varna, because since varna is separately mentioned, better to take kula abhimanam as jati abhimanam, birth. And then varna abhimanam, as I explained to you just now, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, this abhimanam, right? So one we can take, I belong to a uttama kula, I belong to Bharata Vamsham, right? The Vamsham in which Rama and all, okay, sorry, Duryodhana, sorry, the Bhishma and all that came. Or I belong to Raghu Vamsham, where, Rama and all came. So this kind of a thing, there are still people. I mean, this is not just an imagination. I knew of a person whose name was Vyas. He's a Supreme Court advocate. He used to claim to me that he is a descendant of Veda Vyasa. And he was so much believing in that he felt that he knows all the scriptures because he was Veda Vyasa's descendant. Bhagavad Gita and all he knows. And he used to give talks on management, Bhagavad Gita and all that. Of course, I never used to listen. Those days I was also not into spirituality. So I used to say, very good, very good. In fact, you won't believe, he found out from somewhere that there is a temple, original temple of Veda Vyasa, somewhere in UP near Kanpur. Once I went along with him to Kanpur on some tax case, and he insisted that we should try to locate the temple and then go and pray there. And you won't believe, we located the temple and the people in that village confirmed that this is the original temple of Veda Vyasa. And then he was so happy. He was very grateful to me, that having taken all the trouble of arranging vehicle, trying to find out where the temple is and all that. So such people are still there who very strongly believe that they belong to some such very Uttama Kula. So that is also what an Adhyasa only. So that is Kula Abhimanam, and this is what Jati Abhimada or Varna Abhimanam is there, right? Then there is also this Nama Abhimanam. Nama Abhimanam, you know who I am? I am so and so and so. Lot of people are surviving on Nama Abhimanam these days, isn't it? Just because they have got the name or a surname of a very well-known person, they are surviving in their own fields. So Nama Abhimanam is there. Then Ashrama Abhimanam. I am a brahmachari, I am a grihastha, I am a sannyasi. All these are all what? All belong to which part? Anatma part only. All are mithya only. But then, because of their strong identification with the body mind complex, we are taking all those abhimanas, we are superimposing all those onto the Atma. I am Brahmin. I stands for Atma, but Brahmin is Anatma. So we are superimposing the Anatma on the Atma there. That is what he is trying to, he is explaining it here, right? So nana upadi vashad eva, because of the vashad means control of, being caught by this nana upadis, these varieties of these upadis. Yeah, all these are upadis only. Upadis, when they are very close to the Atma, Atma takes the Upadhi Dharma. We have seen how that happens, right? So, Nana Upadhi Vashadeva, being caught up, being entangled in these various Upadhis. What are the kind of Upadhis? Jati, Varna, Ashramadaya. These kind of upadhis, and he has used adaya means you can bring in all upadhis, everything that you take yourself to be, including I am tall, I am short, I am this, I am that, all those are all upadhis which we are actually superimposing on the Atma. Atmani aropita hai, that's what he says, right? So because of all these upadhis, rather not because of these upadhis are all superimposed, आरोपिता है on what? On the Atma. That is what he is explaining, right? And this is explained in Viveka Chudamani, very beautiful stanza is there. Jati niti kula gotra duragam, nama rupa guna dosha varjitam, desha kala vishayadi vastu yad, brahma tattvam asi bhavayatmani. So all the kind of upadhis, is being explained here in this Viveka Chudamani sloka. Very nice one. In fact, this sloka is a very good sloka for Nididhyasa. In fact, those of you who are interested, Swami Paramarthananda from today onwards, he has started uh, 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 talks on Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam slokas which are there in Viveka Chudamani. He has selected about 40 slokas and he is going to talk about that. Those talks are held every Friday and Mondays. And it is there in the yogamalika.org. You can go there and no registration is required. You can listen to it. It is in the, I don't know when the talks he gives, but it is available for 1 week. The talks will be available for 1 week on the Yogamalika site. So those, for Nididhyasanam purposes, he is going to explain the process of Nididhyasanam, what slokas and what should be the form of this Nididhyasanam. He is going to explain. For senior practitioners of Vedanta, it's going to be a very, very useful learning, rather. Right? So this is one of the slokas which he talks about in that 40 slokas. One of the Nididhyasanam slokas. So when we sit for Nididhyasanam, all the teachings, all we have learned in the Shravanam, which a doubtless knowledge which has happened after Mananam, now we have to assimilate that knowledge. How that knowledge will be assimilated? Because we must remember the process of how this assimilation takes place. We have got two levels of conscious. One is an external consciousness, one is an internal consciousness, which we call the subconscious mind. So one mind is a external conscious, a conscious mind. Let's not say external. One is a conscious mind, another is a subconscious mind. And whenever we are going to commit anything to memory, We will be able to recall that only when we push that into the subconscious mind. If it is remaining in the conscious mind, we will just forget it. And that is why strong vasanas which are there, they all go into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, it's a part of the Sukshma Sharira. And that travels with us after the fall of the body. And that is how in the next Janma, those vasanas for some people will be very pronounced. So they will be child prodigies in certain areas. And that has got to go into the subconscious mind. So this Nididhyasanam is a process, is a sadhana in order to push the knowledge of Vedanta, this Aham Brahmasmi knowledge into the subconscious mind. That is what we must understand this Nididhyasanam is about. And because once that happens, then that will go and replace all these misunderstanding, misconceptions which are already there in the subconscious mind. That I am so and so and so, I am a Brahmin, I am a this, I am that, all the superimpositions which we have done for so many births, and which superimpositions we have actually put it in our subconscious mind. And because of that, it is not possible for us to understand that I am not these at all. That that is what is the self ignorance. Now that misconceived self ignorance has to be replaced by a correct or knowledge or self knowledge, where in the subconscious mind. And how we can do that? This process of Nididhyasanam can achieve it. So that is what is the Vedantic meditation is all about. And this one, the Jati Niti Kula Gotra Duragam, this was a very beautiful sloka. In fact, 40 slokas is going to talk about it. Very, 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 profound talks it's going to be. So what I'm saying is, I am Atitam. I am beyond all these upadis, this nana upadi vashat. This jati, varna, ashrama, all this kulam, everything is aropita hai or superimposed on me. And that is what is the idea of the sloka rather. And he gives a beautiful example. He says, Toye rasavarnaha rasavarnadi bhedavat. Toyam means water, right? And water we know has no color. In fact, many people say it doesn't have a taste also, but then some people will taste some water and say it is very sweet and very nice taste and all. But chemically, water is not supposed to have any taste or any color, right? So even though by its nature this water is free from all colors and tastes, etc., when you add something to that water, some rasavarnam, he says, rasavarnam means something which has got taste as well as a color, like a Coca-Cola, let us say. Right? When we add that Coca-Cola to the water, and that's what they do. The concentrate of Coca-Cola they add to water and then give you a bottle with some 10 rupees, 15 rupees, which it might not have cost them 1 rupee also rather. And we buy it and happily drink it and then get into all sorts of diabetes and obesity problems and all. Okay. Lot of sugar also they add. Okay. So anyhow, this when you add this any rasavarnam to water, what happens? The water takes the taste of that whatever is added, also takes the color of whatever is added, even though the water itself has no taste, no color. That's a beautiful example he gives. Right? Rasavarnadi bhedavat. Right. So this example we have taken. of this. All, in fact, all the aerated drinks, we can take this example. And and also, we can take the example of we do this, while washing clothes, we put that blue. What's that called? Neelam. I don't know. Some blue we add. The water becomes blue. The cloth becomes blue. Right? White clothes and all that, they do that. So like that. So even though the water is plain Shuddha like Atma, when all these upadhis are added to that, it also becomes Ashuddha like all these upadhis. Right? Or seemingly. Actually, it cannot. Unlike water, see, water is a soluble. Rather, things can dissolve in water. So it is in this example, we must understand this mixture of water and other rasavarna they talked about is, in fact, the rasavarnam and water have got the same degree of reality. So they will mix up and they will appear. The water will appear to be mixed with this. And another difference also we must understand. It may not be possible to separate the upadhi from the water, isn't it? But in the case of Atma, that is not the case. This we must understand it very carefully. Even though Atma appears to be polluted, even though the upadhi superimposition is there, Atma on its own is totally asangaha. It is pure, Shuddha, Buddha, Nitya Atma. All the superimpositions on the Atma can give only an appearance of the Atma being Anitya, Ashuddha, and also, taking on the properties of these upadhis. But Atma doesn't really get polluted or it becomes, mixed up with these upadhis. It is in our understanding. In it is the problem is with our mind, with our intellect. The problem is not with Atma. So when we are taking this example of this water and these upadhis or rasavarnadi, we must be careful in understanding that example. In fact, the earlier example which we saw of a flower and a crystal is a better example rather. But here, Adi Shankara is pointing out mainly because we actually do not understand as a superimposition of crystal and the flower. In our understanding at present, because of our ignorance, avidya, our understanding is the rasavarnadi. Like we are mixed. I am totally, I am a limited entity. Aham alpagyaha, aham alpashaktiman, aham deshakala parichinnaha. This is what is our understanding is. So that is why in this context, this example what he gives, he is highlighting the seriousness of the problem. Even if we understand like the crystal and the flower, it will not be a problem because that will be easier to separate. But here, it is not easier to separate. So that is the point that he is making with this particular example. Okay. So Jati Varnadi Beda hai, this Upadhi is there. So this was the 11th shloka. He talked about little more with about what the various kinds of Upadhis. Now we'll see the verse 12. Now he comes to, he said Nana Upadhi and gave some examples, right? Now what he is going to do now is further explain the Upadhis which are superimposed on the Atma, right? So we will read the sloka. Panchīkrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam Shariram Sukha Dukkhanam Bhogayatanam Uchyate. So he said previous sloka, Nana Upadhi Vashat. And Nana means a variety, right? Different types. So when we say different means there should be more than one. Variety means. So therefore, in following 2, 3 slokas, he is now going to enumerate the various upadhis on the Atma. As I told you, he starts from Samashti, then comes to Vyashti, in Vyashti, then going step by step into more details of all the Vyashti upadhis. That is what he is doing now, right? And we must recall our understanding of this word upadhi. This is very, very important because if we don't understand this word upadhi, then we will not be able to appreciate what is being talked about, right? Because this upadhi is a technical word, it's a technical connotation in the Shastra rather, in the Upanishads, right? So this upadhi, in order to be superimposed on something else, like in the case of a flower and this crystal, first of all it should be very nearby, and it must transfer that attribute, its attribute. Second condition, nearby it must transfer its attribute. And third thing is that transfer should not be a real transfer, it should be a false transfer, appearing to be transferred but not actually transferred. So these three conditions are required for something to be called a upadhi. So this definition of upadhi we must always bear in mind whenever we are talking about these upadhis, right? So if we take the example of the flower and crystal, all three conditions are satisfied. It is very near. Only when you place the red flower very near the crystal, will the crystal take the color of the flower. So first condition, nearness. Second condition, transfer of its attributes. So the transfer of the attributes is that the flower's color, red color, is being transferred to the crystal and the crystal appears to be red. Second condition. Third condition is the transfer is false. Because if you remove the flower, the crystal will appear as crystal clear only. Isn't it? It won't continue to appear as red because the upadhi has been removed. You don't need to wash the crystal to remove the red color. You just remove the upadhi, the crystal is as it was, shining as earlier. So whenever we are talking of this upadhi and upadhi being superimposed on the Atma, we must understand that these three conditions should be satisfied. And that is the reason only this attributes of this body-mind complex we are taking on to the Atma, nothing else. Because this closest to our Atma is this body-mind complex. Nothing else is so close. And that's why we don't take I am computer, I am table, I am book, I am water bottle, I am a clock and all that. Why? They are not close. But this body, mind, sense complex, closest. So that is, we must understand this upadhi rather, right? So there can be two types of transfers. One is vastavika tadatmya, that is actual transfer is taking place. In which case, nothing can be done. You cannot separate it. The other is adhyasika tadatmyam, which is a superimposition, apparent superimposition. If it is a adhyasika tadatmyam, then you can separate it. And what we have to understand is all this transference of this upadhi dharma to our atma is adhyasika and not vastavika. If it is vastavika, if the Atma is in fact taken the upadhi of this and then actual transfer has taken place, Atma can never attain moksha, or the individual can never attain moksha because it will always remain limited. That's all. So that we must understand the difference between these two types of superimpositions rather. Right. So Upadhi and Upahitam, they should be near each other. And the Upadhi should transfer its qualities of attributes or properties to the Upahitam, and it should be false, the transfer should be false or apparent. So these three conditions have to be fulfilled, right? So we are using the word Upadhi in this particular sense. So now he is going to, Adi Shankara is going to enumerate this Nana Upadhis rather, right? What are they? Mainly they will talk about three. Stula Sharira Upadhi, Sukshma Sharira Upadhi, and Karana Sharira Upadhi. Right. And the next three slokas he is going to enumerate that these three only. This Stula, Sukshma, and Karana Sharira. The sloka which we are now seeing is talking about the Stula Sharira Upadhi. 13th shloka will talk about the Sukshma Sharira Upadhi, and the 14th shloka will talk about the Karana Sharira Upadhi. Right. So here, this Stula Shariram is described as what? Sorry. Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam. Do you recall anything? This word Panchikrita, where have we seen this? Panchikrita Mahabhutam. Huh? Tattva Bodha. When Stula Shariram was defined in Tattva Bodha, when the Srishti Prakaranam was being described, how it was dealt with in detail. Of course, I'm not going to go into the detail of what we have already seen in Tattva Bodha, except that that word Panchikrita we must recall. Grossification. Grossification of what? The elements. The Pancha Mahabhutas. So the first, from the first born is the Pancha Sukshma Mahabhutas. And from the Pancha Sukshma Mahabhutas, Pancha Stula Mahabhutas are born. And from the Pancha Stula Mahabhutas, our Stula Shariram is born. We have seen that process. In fact, the chart also I showed this Panchikrita, one beautiful drawing I showed when we did the Tattva Bodha class, right? So, grossification is this Panchikrita, Panchikrita Mahabhutam. That's what he's talking about here. So, Akasha, Vayu, then Agni, Apa, Prithvi. These Pancha Mahabhutas, we have seen they are grossified, and then from that grossification, Stula Shariram Sambhutah or Sambhavam. Here he uses the word Sambhavam. Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam. Right. Stula Shariram. Now, question is, if all the bodies which we come across, they are all manufactured or produced out of these Pancha Mahabhutas, grossified Pancha Mahabhutas, then all of them should be looking the same, isn't it? Has this question occurred to you? When we say Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam, means that everything is Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam. Now, why there is a difference? Even in human beings, one person looks different than the others. Why? This question is a very legitimate question. That Adi Shankara anticipates and he answers. What he says? Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam. Here the word Sanchitam should not be mistaken as Sanchita Karma. Sanchitam means assembled, put together. That is the meaning of Sanchitam we have to take here. Karma Sanchitam. So, the Panchikrita, the grossified elements, combined with the karmas of the individual jivas, when they are assembled, this Stula Shariram is born. So, there are two karanas for the Stula Shariram. One is a Samanya Karanam, which is the Panchabhutas, general, applicable to all jivas. Samanya Karanam, right? Then there is a Vishesha Karanam. And the Vishesha Karma, Vishesha Karanam is the karmas, the balance of karmas which is there in each individual jiva's account, which will be different from one jiva to another jiva. And that is the reason why the difference in all these Stula Sharirams we see. So one part of it, of one part of this assemblage, Sanchitam, because after all, as Puja Swamiji says often, this entire universe is nothing but an assemblage. Things put together very intelligently. That is the universe. And that is why Paramatma or Ishvara is the intelligent cause. Who can put everything together intelligently? The person who knows how to put them together intelligently. You must have knowledge of everything. Just imagine if something has been wrongly put together, what havoc it will cause in this universe. But that is not happening. Even though people say this is a very chaotic functioning and all, but there is an order in that chaos. There is a Ishvara's order is there. It's all, it functions like, like a clock rather. No mistake, not a second here, there. Absolutely. What is to be there is there. It cannot be anywhere else. The sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening, isn't it? If suppose the sun says, okay, every day I've been doing this for some millions of years, from tomorrow I'm going to rise in the evening and set in the morning, what will happen to the universe? Of course, what will happen is somebody will say, we will call the evening morning and morning evening. Because the way word morning itself is actually connected with the appearance of the sun or the rising of the sun. But then again, that is also a mithya. There is no sunrise or sunset, as we have seen Tattva Bodha itself. It is an appearance. But what do we take it as? Satyam. Sun is rising, sun is setting, isn't it? Nothing. Sun is there only, stationary. This is the problem. These are all, see, when we start thinking in Vedantic terms and we observe around us, this is what happens. We start analyzing, understanding what is mithya. The sunrise, sunset is nothing but a solid example of a mithya. Nothing sets, nothing rises. Similarly, all this superimposition on our Atma is nothing but mithya. Adhyasa. All these upadhis. Atma doesn't have anything, any qualities. It is Shuddha Buddha Nitya Sarvagata Atma only. But for us, we are giving it reality, just like we are giving reality to the sunrise and sunset. Even though intellectually all of us know that there is no sunrise, there is no sunset, still we will continue to use those words, sunrise, sunset, and all that vyavaharically. And even when we are doing that, it will not occur in our mind. So many questions can come. Pratha Sandhya, why we should do? It's not a Pratha. I'm a Vedantin. I won't do Pratha Sandhya. Because there is no Pratha. Pratha is when you are seeing the Pratha. There is no Pratha. So all this lot of, I mean, we can go into a very deep, inquiry into that. That's why sannyasis don't have all these things. They are not bound by this. They understand this. Sannyasis are supposed to be very near to jnana, isn't it? So these are all going one level up and up and up in our thinking process. So here, two things: general cause and then vishesha cause, vishesha karanam. Karma sanchitam. He uses the word karma sanchitam, right? And what is this shariram? He says, sukha dukkhanam shariram bhogayatanam iti uchyate. So we call this shariram as a bhogayatanam. Bhoga ayatanam. Ayatanam means a home, an abode of bhoga, experiences. Experiences of what? Sukha dukkhanam, both happy and sad experiences. So this Stula Shariram, which is a product of the grossified Panchamahabhutas on the one side, combined with the karmas of the individual jivas, this particular Stula Shariram which we get, it is nothing but an abode of all the experiences of the nature of happiness and sorrow. This is what is the nature of this Stula Shariram. But what we do, this property of this Stula Shariram, which is this Bhoga Ayatanam of Sukha Dukkha, we superimpose on the Atma. And we say, I am happy, I am sad, I am Sukhi, I am Dukkhi. This is what we say. This is what is the superimposition. Now, for that matter, you cannot go and go around and saying that to everybody, oh, my body is very happy, my body is very unhappy. People will think something wrong with you. In Vyavaharika terms, a Vedantin behaves like a Ajnani only. A Jnani behaves like a Ajnani only. In his mind, he knows that what I am saying is only for the sake of this is how they will understand. If I don't say like this, they will misunderstand me. Like many times we talk to the child in a very, a typical way, What I think in Hindi it is called some totla or something, I don't remember. But when it's like, in Tamil Cholopana, konji peshuvanam, koyandagatta. If we go and talk like that to other people, they will say, what is wrong with this fellow? But with the child, we will talk like that. Because the child will understand that. That's what we think. Whether it understands or not. Right? So, when the Jnani is in the society, when he is in amidst Ajnanis, he will use the same language as Ajnanis. In fact, one of his talks, Swami Paramatanda was saying, a grihastha jnani. It's a very difficult thing to do. Being a grihastha, he has to discharge his responsibilities. And when he does that, he becomes a karta bhokta. But as a jnani, he knows that aham akarta, aham abhokta. There is a conflict. Fully knowing aham akarta, abhokta, I am to necessarily discharge the duties like a karta bhokta. So it will look like a split personality. But because he is a jnani, he will not have a schizophrenia kind of a thing. He will know it. So a jnani, what will do when he is in the company of his family and friends and all that, he will behave like a ajnani only. He will do play acting. So for a grihastha jnani, some degree of acting skills are very much required. You must act as if you are a ajnani like all other people, so that they will They will not look at you as a stranger, or they will not reject you. But in your mind, in your approach to your own life, you must be a jnani. Understand that all this is I am doing because this is my duty to do. Actually, I know that I am a akarta abhokta. That very beautifully is explained. Swami Paramathananda explained that grihastha jnani. So, for getting this jnanam, it is not necessary one should take sannyasa, he says. Sannyasa is ideal because then you get rid of all your responsibilities and you can focus totally on knowledge, gaining this self knowledge. Ideal situation, best situation. But as times are going by, it may not be possible for everybody to do that. Does it mean that if you are caught in grihastha you cannot get jnanam? The answer is no. You can still pursue jnanam, find out time to pursue the self knowledge, this Atma Jnanam, and then you can become an Atma Jnani. Nothing stops you from doing that. And then, of course, there are examples like Janaka and all that are there. Even Yajnavalkya, he was a married man, a Brahma Jnani. So, Upanishads gives a lot of examples who are grihasthas, who are kings. Janaka actually was, discharging the responsibility of a king rather, not just a grihastha. But still he was a Brahmagyani. So a lot of examples are there. So that's what Swamiji spoke about. Anyhow, so this particular sloka is talking about this stula sharira, right? And because of the past karmas and all that, the answer for why different stula sharirams are different, we get that. Because the every aspect, every attribute that every individual has is all because of the past karmas. That we have seen in the law of karma when we saw it in detail in Tattva Bodha, right? So ayatanam, I told you, is abode. So bhoga ayatanam, which is the abode of experiences of pleasures and pains, rather, right? And another meaning is ayatanam, we can take not only a abode, but also a temporary abode. Ayatanam, right? Temporary tenement. Well, that is what it is. This Atma is going to be in this abode for some time. The time is over, it will pack up and take along with it all the important aspects, all the cartons, it will leave it behind, right? Whenever we buy some, this fridge or some the big cartons come packed. So the cartons we throw and we only use the fridge. So like that, this Atma will take all the Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram along with it. Go in search of another Ayatanam, like as if it has been transferred from one city to another city, right? Like a banker, every 3 years transfer, like that. So this Atma will go. So when we are talking, saying Ayatanam, we can also extend the meaning to understand it is a temporary tenement. It's a temporary abode for the Atma, right? So that's what it says. Sukha dukkhanam bhoga ayatanam shariram iti uchyate. So this body is said to be a bhoga ayatanam. And for that sanchitam, right? The word sanchitam, which was used, I told you this, it should be assemblage, right? That sanchitam word should be connected to shariram and not to karma. That's what. Because karma sanchitam means it could be sanchita karma. That should not be that is not the meaning here. Is shariram sanchitam karma. So karma is one aspect, shariram is another aspect, and the assembly of karma and shariram put together is what is called sanchitam here. That aspect we must very carefully understand in this, right? So that is why we end up saying aham stula. We superimpose the stulatvam in the sharira, to the atma rather. Stula sharirat, the stulatvam of the stula shariram, atma aham stula, or aham rugna, right? Aham arogaha. So all this krishatvam, this jara, aham vayasyakaha, vayasyakaha, yeah, aham yuva, I'm old, I am young. All these things, all are stula sharira dharmas, which we superimpose on the Atma. Atmani adhyastaha. That's what he says. So I have Panchikata Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam Shariram Bhoga Ayatanam Iti Uchyate. So this is what is there. So the very first Upadhi Atma we have described, and this is the first Upadhi. Shariram to Pratama Upadhi. We must remember that. This is the first Upadhi on the Atma. Okay. So next Upadhi is going to talk about Sukshma Sharira, which maybe we will just recite that and then stop and then continue in the next class. Okay. Pancha prana mano buddhi dashendriya samanvitam apanchikrita bhutotyam sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. So this is, he is talking about Sukshma Sharira, very simple sloka. We will see the meanings in the next class on next Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. I'll say the prayers, and if there are any questions, you can ask. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all. Any question?
The karma sanchidam jonade. Can we take it as karmana prarabdham?
No. Sanchitam, yeah, karmana you can take prarabdham. Yes. The karmana you can take as prarabdha karma because that is what is implied here. Because when we are
assembled due to your past karmas.
Assembled, actually you can take it assembled is a assembled assemblage of the grossified 5 elements and your prarabdha karma for this birth. That way we can take, because ultimately for our this birth it is prarabdha karma which is giving us this body, isn't it? So that way we can take as prarabdha karma. Karma sanchitam, that karma word can be interpreted as prarabdha karma. Yes. ஆமா இன்னைக்கு கேட்கறது ஆமா இது சரியா அதுவும் பிராரப்த கர்மாவோட பார்ட்டா இருக்கும் ஆமா கம்ப்யூட்டரோட பிராரப்த கர்மா இஸ் பெட்டர் டுடே
அத்தியாசம் சொன்னாலே
ஆமா
அத்தியாசம் and அன்யோன்ய அத்தியாசம் ஆமா அன்யோன்ய அத்தியாசம். This அன்யோன்ய அத்தியாசம் I think will not take place everywhere.
Anyonya Adhyasam takes place only between this the Sharira Trayam and Atma.
Sharira Trayam and Atma, Anyonya Traya, Anyonya Adhyasam.
Yes. So, Anyonya Adhyasam doesn't take place with any other object.
The prism and the flower generally. Flower can have an Adhyasam on prism.
Yes.
But prism cannot have an Adhyasam.
Yeah, correct. See, that's what other examples and all which we are taking, they are explaining the adhyasa from a upadhi point of view. Here in our case, what happens is this anyonya adhyasa takes place. Even if anyonya adhyasa doesn't take place, for example, then what should be the condition? The condition is, I know that these are all superimposed on me, but so far as I am concerned, I am Shuddha Atma. I am Shuddha Buddha Nitya Atma. This knowledge should be there. Why that knowledge is not there? Because nammaloda reality we have already given it up. Adha innurtharku kudutaachu. Adu namakitta illai nenichundirukom namma. Kudutaachu. Adha adhyasam. So the two types of adhyasam is taking place. We are superimposing the qualities or attributes of our body-mind complex on Atma, and we are superimposing the quality of the Atma, attribute of the Atma, which is Nityatvam, Shuddhatvam, Asangatvam, all that on this body-mind complex. So we are taking body-mind complex.
That is the best example, yeah. Anyonya Adhyasathukku Shariram and Atma.
ஆமா, இது அந்யோன்ய அத்தியாசம் வேற எங்கேயும் நடக்கிறது இல்லை.
வேற எங்கேயும் இல்லை,
இல்லைங்க, நடக்காது. ஆமா, அந்யோன்ய அத்தியாசம். see, அத்தியாசம் நடக்கிறதுக்கு இந்த it should be a உபாதி first. ஸ்டெப் பை ஸ்டெப் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா உபாதியா இருக்கணும். உபாதியா இருக்கணும்னா அந்த 3 conditions have to be satisfied. Right? It should be very near. It should be that there should transfer of property, and the transfer should be false. So anyonya adhyasam solittunna we can consider 2 things. Atma as the upadhi and then transferring its properties to the shariratrayam. Shariratrayam as the upadhi and transferring its properties to Atma. Both the transfers are mithya only. In both these transfers, all 3 conditions are satisfied. Both are false only. But because of this, we don't understand it as false, we understand it as real. And that is what is ignorance is all about. அவித்யாங்கிறது என்னது? இது தெரியாததுதான் அவித்யா. இது தெரிஞ்சு போச்சுன்னா அப்புறம் you are a ஞானி. That's all. Very simple formula.
ஆமா, அந்த அந்யோன்ய அத்தியாசத்துல இப்ப நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி என்னோட சன், என்னோட டாட்டர், மை ரிலேஷன், சோ ஐ எம் அஃபெக்டட். இப்ப அதுவும் அது இப்படிதான் சேருமா?
ஆமா, அந்யோன்ய அத்தியாசத்துல இருந்து தான் அந்த அகங்காரா மமகாரா எல்லாம் everything will come to that, you know.
So not only my body, என்னோட க்ளோஸ் இது நான் நினைச்சுக்கிறோம்.
அதுல செகண்ட் லெவல்ல க்ளோஸ்னஸ் வருமே.
ஓகே,
அதுதான் ப்ராப்ளம். இப்போ அதனால தான் இப்போ மை கிராண்ட் சைல்ட் சிக், so I am affected. I am having a painful experience because my grandchild, because that extends. In the properties of whenever we say our attributes of this body mind complex, we must understand these attributes as ahankara and also mamakara. ரெண்டும் உண்டு. ஆனா அந்த மமக்காரா இருந்தாதான் ப்ராப்ளம். மமக்காரா இல்லை வச்சுக்கோங்க, யாரோ தூரத்துக்கு நம்மளோட இந்த காலனில யாரோ ஒருத்தர் இருக்கார், அவரை நம்ம பார்த்தது கூட கிடையாது, அவருக்கு ஏதாவது ப்ராப்ளம்னா நம்மள அஃபெக்ட் பண்ணாது. அங்க மமக்காரா இல்லை. I and mine is the problem of this whole samsara. That is why vairagyam is required. Why it is vairagyam? Vairagyam means to get over this I and mine business. Once you get that vairagyam, you will see everything objectively. My grandchild is an individual. It is born with its own prarabdha karmas. Those prarabdha karmas will drive it to have painful and pleasurable experiences in life. It has got nothing to do with me. இது புரியறதுக்கு நமக்கு அந்த வைராக்கியம் தேவை. இல்லாட்டா ஐயோ என்னோட குழந்தைக்கு இப்படி ஆயிடுச்சு, என் குழந்தைக்கு அப்படி ஆயிடுச்சுன்னு சொல்லுவோம். இது கிராண்ட் சைல்டு மட்டும் இல்லை, எல்லாரும் இன்க்ளூடிங் ஸ்பௌஸ். Including spouse, because we must understand spouse also is born as a individual karma sanchitam da. That is also a, you know, spouse is an individual self. So he or she has been born with her own prarabdha karma, will have undergo all the experiences of that prarabdha karma. Adha nama purinjukano. So adalanda, this is what is the Vedanta is all about. And so this vairagyam solrome, it is not a simple thing. Vairagyam is a very deep thing, and the vairagyam is very much necessary for the, you know, self realization. As important as சன்னியாசி இல்ல, யாருக்கு வைராக்கியம் இருக்கோ அவன் சன்னியாசி. சன்னியாசிக்கு வைராக்கியம் இருக்கணும்னு அவசியம். அவன் சன்னியாசி காவி ஊத்திட்டு அவன் எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருப்பான். So this is the mental state. வைராக்கியம்ங்கிறது objective state of the mind. That we must understand. And objective state of the mind is seeing everything as it is. And Shastra helps you to see that. Shastra is telling, if you understand all this, you will see everything objectively. So when you come to Vedanta, you learn to see things objectively and not get disturbed by anything that is happening around you. That's all. Even when it is things are happening to your own body-mind complex. Right? ஒரு உடம்பு சரியில்லாம வருது, காத்தால எழுந்து கட்ட முதுகு வலிக்கிறது ஆர் சம்திங். இன்ஃபேக்ட் யூ won't know. But last week முன்னாடி ஒரு 2 weeksக்கு my right leg, it was suddenly started some problem, you know, the muscles and all became tightened. நடக்க முடியாதே ஆயிடுச்சு. For 2 weeks I suffered. But always I used to tell myself, there must be a reason. I tried normally. நம்ம என்ன பண்ணுவோம், என்னத்தால் இப்படி ஆச்சு, இதை சாப்பிட்டோமா, இதை பண்ணினோமா, இப்படி படுத்துட்டோமா, அப்படி படுத்துட்டோமா, நீ என்ன வேணா அனலைஸ் பண்ணிக்கோ, வலி ஒன்றும் போகிறது இல்லை, வலி இருக்குதான் இருக்கு. Then Raji said that வந்து அவள் she spoke to a friend of hers. ஸோ அவள் சொன்னா இந்த மாதிரி வயசாக கொஞ்சம் இந்த இதெல்லாம் இந்த மினரல்ஸ் எல்லாம் கம்மியாகும். ஸோ இது வந்து இந்த கிராம்ப்ஸ் மாதிரி வர்றது, இந்த மசில்ஸ் எல்லாம் டைட் ஆகிறது, இட் இஸ் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் deficiency of phosphorus and magnesium. So she prescribed one homeopathic medicine. அதை வாங்கி நான் சாப்பிட்டேன், 4 நாள் சாப்பிட்டு சரியாயிடுச்சு. எதுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன், these problems will come in life. So இது வந்து not necessarily wife and all that, நமக்கே வரும் உடம்புக்கு சரியில்லாம. ஸோ அந்த டயத்துல நமக்கு வைராக்கியம் வேணும். இது ஏதோ ஒரு பாப்ப கர்மா ஏதோ இருக்கு, I have done something in the past, I am suffering because of that. I don't need to go into the reasons, I don't need to find out why and all that, because I may not find out at all. In fact, I'm just leading my regular life. Suddenly ஒரு நாளைக்கு இப்படி யாருது, அதுவும் 2 வாரம் it is lastingனா, காலை தூக்கி வைக்க முடியலை, உட்கார முடியலை, சந்தியாவந்தனம் பண்ணுறது, கீழே உட்காண்டா எழுதுக்கிறது கஷ்டமா இருக்கு, இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் நடக்கிறது. ஸோ எதுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன்னா, அந்த ஒரு ஆப்ஜெக்டிவிட்டி வந்துடுச்சுன்னா we will not bother much about our body also. If it is happening, it is happening. அதுக்கு வேண்டியது எது பண்ணணுமோ பண்ணலாம், மருந்து சாப்பிடணும், மருந்து சாப்பிட்டுக்கலாம், அதெல்லாம் அது வேண்டி டாக்டர்கிட்ட ஓடிட்டு ஐயோ இப்படி ஆயிடுச்சு அப்படி ஆயிடுச்சு சொல்லி பிரயோஜனம் கிடையாது. அது வந்து அந்த லெவல்ல இருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சு இட் வில் அப்ளை டு எவ்ரிதிங். So that is the vairagyam we have to develop, and it cannot be developed overnight. It will take time, but that is what we have to go on doing. Yeah. Anyhow,
எனக்கு ஒரு क्वेश्चन இருக்கு, கேட்கலாமா?
கேளு.
நிதித்தியாசனம், subconscious mindல whatever you learn we transfer it to the subconscious mindல. So when the body falls, the mind along with the karma transfers, it travels towards the other next
sukshma shariram and karana shariram travel.
Correct. So my question is, I am very weak in Sanskrit now. So நான் என்ன பண்றேன், Sanskrit நல்லா படிச்சு my subconscious mind கொண்டு போய்க்கிறேன். Will I get the same intelligence in the next janma?
You will have the vasana. You will have the vasana. Depending upon how strong that vasana you have created in this birth, and it need not necessarily manifest in the next birth. For example, suppose you are, according to your prarabdha karma for the next birth, you are born as some other yoni, right? Not a human body. Suppose, give me example. Whenever you get the next human body, high chances of that vasanas being coming up rather from the subconscious mind. Now the problem always is, how do we know how strong is that vasana in the subconscious mind? We don't know, right? Number 1. Number 2, when that will mature and become a vasana for that particular life, that also we don't know. But we know this much: once it is there in the subconscious mind, then it will surface at some time or the other. But so far as this Atma Jnanam is concerned, you must note this point very clearly. Once this Atma Jnanam you have been able to push into the subconscious mind, and that subconscious mind, it is there settled as Aham Brahmasmi. Where is the question of next birth?
Correct.
இல்லையா?
பிராக்டிஸ் பண்றதுக்கு
மிச்ச வாசனாசு பொறுத்தவரை அது வந்து அப்ளிகபிளா இருக்கலாம். அகம் பிரம்மாஸ்மி ஞானம் சப்கான்சியஸ் மைண்ட்ல போனதுக்கு அப்புறம் and then you start you lead your life with that. அது ஆனதுலே உன்னோட எல்லா கர்மாஸும் போயாச்சே. See, all sanchita karmas are destroyed. இதுலயே வரும், ஆதிசங்கரா is going to say in this, all karmas become like roasted this beans. It will not sprout. So he will give that example later. So that is happen. That will happen. But to answer your question, yes.
வேதத்துக்கு வரதுக்கு கால ஜென்மால வந்து படிச்சதுனால தான் இந்த ஸ்டேஜுக்கு நீ வர.
எக்ஸாக்ட்லி.
இல்லேட்டா
உனக்கு அந்த வாசனா இல்லைன்னா நீ இந்த பக்கமே வந்திருக்க மாட்ட. நீ வந்து இதுக்கு ஐயோ கணபதி வேதாந்தா சொல்லிக்கிட்டா அவனுக்கு போன் கூட பண்ணாதரா அப்படின்னு தான் நீ சொல்லுவ.
பகவான் சொல்றாரே சுபாவஸ்து பிரவர்த்ததே.
ஆமா, அது it will happen. Unless we understand the whole scheme, we won't appreciate, and many people don't bother rather to understand.
The prodigies எல்லாம் அப்படிதான் வரா இல்லையா?
Prodigies எல்லாம் அப்படிதான் வரா. ஆமா, கரெக்ட். Prodigies எல்லாம் அப்படிதான் வரா. அதெல்லாம் அவளுக்கு வந்து அந்த previous ஜென்ம வாசனா is so strong that it surfaces. Even for example, Ramana Maharshi அதுதானே, he is also a prodigy only. Prodigy this thing. சின்ன வயசுலயே இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு வைராக்கியம் வந்து போய் ஒரு குகையில போய் உட்காரணும் தான் நம்மளால முடியுமா? அவர் ஸ்பிரிச்சுவல் ப்ராடிஜி, இவாள்லாம் மியூசிக்கல் ப்ராடிஜி, மேத்தமெட்டிக்கல் ப்ராடிஜி. அவர் ஸ்பிரிச்சுவல் ப்ராடிஜி. அது போன ஜென்மத்தை ஏதாவது ஜென்மத்துல அது ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்திருக்கும். பட் சம் ப்ராப்ளம் வாஸ் தேர் வித் இஸ் பிராரப்த கர்மா. சம் லிட்டில் பிட் வாஸ் லெஃப்ட். அதை வந்து இந்த பிறக்கணும், ஒரு மனுஷ ஜென்மம் எடுக்கணும்னு எடுத்து அதை வந்து இன் திஸ் ஜென்மா எஸ் ஃபினிஷ்ட் இட். அக்கவுண்ட் க்ளோஸ்ட் இந்த ஜென்மால.
சுவாமி பரமார்த்தானந்தெல்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அவர் சொல்லி தரதெல்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இந்த மாதிரி தான் இருக்கணும்.
ஆமா, வேற வழி இல்ல. வாட் ஆர் த எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன்? யாராவது இதை எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுவாங்க? nobody else can explain this. A child which is 3 years old or 4 years old, it is singing Carnatic music, identifying all the ragas without learning anything na, அது எங்கேருந்து அதுக்கு வருதுங்கிறது how would you explain it? அவன் 50 வருஷம் படிச்சுட்டே ஒரு ராகம் என்னன்னா தெரிய மாட்டேங்கிறது. இது சின்ன குழந்தை சொல்றதுன்னா it has to come, and that is satyavagena. Why Vedas have told that, and Vedas cannot be asatyam. இந்த டெப்த்துக்கு எவனுமே போறது கிடையாது. The thinking is not there, and they will just say for Big Bang theory எடுத்துக்கோ, the theory of creation itself, nobody knows what was there before the Big Bang. அவன்கிட்ட கேளு, அவன் யோசிக்க மாட்டான். Veda says that there was only Brahman before the creation, and that is cyclical. Not that Brahman was there and then Brahman became this world. This world also will finish, but it will not go, it will not disappear. It will become unmanifest. In the theory or in the knowledge, nowhere else it is there. And people, I tell you, people, Western people and all who have understood all these things, they have really appreciated that. I mean, you can see their writings, and even Einstein, theory of relativity, he has also accepted that this is what is all. The Hindu Dharma talks about everything correctly. ஏன்னா அவளால என்ன ப்ராப்ளம் அவளுக்குன்னா சயின்டிஸ்ட்க்கு வந்து they need to prove it, objectively, which they can't do it. How can you prove Brahman? You can only by logic you can prove. Otherwise our pramanam is Shastra pramanam. That's it. For us, we don't want it to be proved logically. Shastra is saying it, I take it. Period. That is my pramanam. And if I want logic, I can apply logic and then say, give so many examples. Like in the Kathopanishad, when I was teaching these, we saw, Adi Shankara Bhashyakara in his Bhashyam has used so many logic, but Shruti-based logic, not Tarka-based logic. Shruti-based logic we use. And then we understand how there should be something called Brahman existing. Without that, nothing will happen. If that Brahman had not been there, you call it anything. You call it Brahman, you call it Atma, you gave any other name you want, doesn't matter. But unless there is some such entity, the whole world will not be there. It will not manifest. அதெல்லாம் இருக்கு நம்ம சாஸ்திரத்துல இருக்கிற டெப்த் nowhere else is there. The law of karma இல்லைன்னா ஒண்ணுமே எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ண முடியாது. அதனால law of karma is a very important element. அதுல இருந்தா நமக்கு எல்லாம் கிடைக்கிறது இதெல்லாம். But when you are actually coming into Vedanta, you say that law of karma is also mithya. Right? That is applicable only to this body mind complex, not to me. I am Atma, I am Brahman. For me, no karma. Aham akarta, abhokta. There is no karma for me. That understanding you must reach. You can talk about law of karma too. It's also a learning process. Right? Directa poite, I am Brahman and either he will go mad or he will say that you are mad. So it's a process. I mean, the scriptures take us through a process. First, எல்லாம் சொல்லிட்டு நம்ம ஒரு அல்ஜிப்ரா ஈக்குவேஷன் சால்வ் பண்ற மாதிரி தான். ஒரு அசம்ஷன்ஸ் எல்லாம் எடுத்துக்க வேண்டியது. அப்புறம் கடைசியில அசம்ஷன்ஸ் எல்லாம் ரிமூவ் பண்ணிட்டு ஃபைனலா ஆன்சருக்கு வர வேண்டியது. That is the process. Okay. Any more questions? சொல்லு.
பர்சனல் ப்ராப்ளம் சொன்னேன் இல்லையா, கால் வலி இது, அத உனக்கு இதுல போய் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணட்டுமா, இதுலயே பண்ணட்டுமா, போன் கட் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் பண்ணட்டுமா?
அப்புறம் பண்ணலாம்.
ஈஸியான.
ஓகே மாமா, நமஸ்காரம்.
சரி, we will stop here. நம்ம போன்ல பேசலாம். ராஜு
ஓகே மாமா, நமஸ்காரம். நமஸ்காரம் மாமா.
ஓகே, ஹரி ஓம். நமஸ்காரம். ஹரி ஓம். செவ்வாய்க்கிழமை பார்க்கலாம். ஓகே, ஹரி ஓம். தேங்க்யூ.